Welcome back. President Cyril Ramaphosa says the $51 billion in funding committed by his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping is just the beginning of the long journey to modernization. Ramaphosa addressed the media as he wrapped up his state visit to China and the participation at the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation Summit. Business editor Xolani Mbanjwa is in China and filed this report.
Addressing over 50 African heads of state, Chinese President Xi Jinping says the $50 billion that was unveiled here is just the beginning. Jinping has also called on African leaders to walk with him on a path of modernization, but has also committed to at least 30 infrastructure projects on the African continent to help grow the continent's trading power, something that President Cyril Ramaphosa says should muzzle China's critics.
In relation to those naysayers, those who are still doubtful, like the biblical Thomas, I would say that this being the very first state visit in the era of the 7th administration and in the era of the government of national unity is a very important and clear signal of how we view the People's Republic of China, and also the intention of the Government of National Unity to have a foreign policy direction and trajectory that supports our economic growth. Now, China, as I said earlier, is our biggest and largest trading partner, and we are attracting more and more Chinese companies as investors in South Africa, and we're fortunate to have a Chinese government that is committed to foster our development. President Xi Jinping is at pains when he talks to me about not having enough manufactured goods from South Africa, and he says, President Ramaphosa, we want to see more goods in China from South Africa.
President Ramaphosa's adoration for Jinping and China's approach to Africa's development, and in particular South Africa's relationship with this country, was also evident when Ramaphosa addressed the summit. Ramaphosa says it should therefore be clear to everyone that interdependence will be key to Africa and China's future.
China has a long history of friendship and solidarity with the people of Africa over many centuries. And we thank China for continuing to expand and develop a spirit of cooperation and collaboration, particularly with our continent, Africa. So we say thank you, President Xi Jinping, for continuing. Since this relationship was institutionalized through FOCAC in 2000, ties between China and Africa have continued to grow and to deepen and to broaden. We welcome the proposal by President Xi Jinping to elevate China's bilateral relations with African countries that are having diplomatic ties with China to the level of strategic relations. This, to us, shows the great importance that China attaches to its relationship with the African continent and with individual countries on the African continent. And for this, we thank you again.
The president used his time on the podium to call on African leaders to work together towards peace, lamenting how Africa becomes the worst affected of all continents during times of instability.
I also wish to thank President Xi and President Faye, the co-chairs of FOCAC, for extending an invitation to all of us and for convening this summit that is going to have important discussions and conclusions. Let us give them a big round of applause for that. We meet today when the world is experiencing many challenges. War and conflict continue to cause great human suffering and instability in a number of places across the world. Climate change is causing widespread devastation. The world is falling behind in its efforts to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. The global contestation for critical minerals is fueling geopolitical rivalry. These challenges affect all nations, but are more often severely felt on the African continent.
While this FOCAC summit has reflected the significant, comprehensive and cooperative nature of Africa and China's relationship, it is President Xi Jinping's announcement of a 10-point action plan on such areas as agriculture, health, security, science and technology, green energy that has also signified China's willingness to rally the 2.8 billion African and Chinese people into a powerful force globally. For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I'm Xolani Mbanjwa in Beijing, China.